Singapore's election campaign kicks into high gear. And also magnitude 6.2 earthquake jolts Turkey's Istanbul. Salam Malaysia Madani. Good to have you with us. I'm Brendan Paul. The meeting between Malaysia's Deputy Prime Minister, Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, and Indonesia's President Prabowo Subianto on Tuesday went beyond standard diplomatic engagement, reinforcing regional solidarity and the long-standing friendship between the two nations. In a meeting held at Jakarta's Istana Merdeka, topping the agenda were key regional issues from the looming impact of potential Trump-era tariffs to the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Both leaders called for ASEAN unity in facing global challenges, stressing the importance of collective responsibility. On the economic front, a breakthrough in halal trade was achieved. Malaysia's halal certification by JAKIM will continue to be recognized in Indonesia, smoothing exports and strengthening economic ties. The two nations also agreed in principle to mutual halal certification recognition, paving the way for an ASEAN Halal Council. Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid's visit included talks with Vice President Gibran Rakabuming Raka, focusing on labour, fisheries and TVET education. The leaders also reaffirmed a 2012 maritime agreement ensuring that fishermen crossing into each other's waters by mistake will be warned, not punished, in a show of continued goodwill. Meanwhile, during meeting with the ASEAN Secretary-General Dr. Kau Kem Hun, Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid advocated for the principle of one ASEAN, one response, a unified regional disaster management framework. With the visit, he signals Malaysia's commitment to a stronger, more unified ASEAN, ready to face global uncertainties together. Singapore's election campaign officially kicked off Wednesday with Prime Minister Lawrence Wong facing his first major test amid public frustration over rising living costs and a rejuvenated opposition. The 3rd May polls are also coming as the wealthy city-state faces a turbulent global economy, upended by US tariffs. Along with supporters, potential candidates gathered at 9 nomination centres across the island to submit their documents to stand in the election. Wong, who took over in 2024 after succeeding Lee Hsien Loong, the son of founding Premier Lee Kuan Yew, said there is much at stake this election.
We are in a changed world with turbulence all around, so there is much at stake in this election. Your votes will determine your future and your children's future.
Singapore will head to the polls on 3rd May with 92 out of 97 parliamentary seats to be contested, following a surprise walkover in the newly formed Marine Parade Bradle Heights Group Representation Constituency, GRC. The ruling People's Action Party, PAP, which secured 5 seats uncontested, also fielded candidates in the remaining 32 constituencies, comprising 17 GRCs and 15 single-member constituencies. A powerful 6.2 magnitude earthquake rocked Istanbul, Turkey on Wednesday, injuring at least 236 people. Most of them hurt while fleeing in panic. Officials also reported 378 cases of structural damage based on emergency calls received. The quake struck at 12:49 p.m. local time with its epicenter in Istanbul, Silivri district and was felt widely across the city of over 15 million people. According to the Disaster Emergency Management Authority, it lasted 13 seconds and occurred at a depth of 7 kilometers. The authorities said none of the injuries are life-threatening, but hospitals continue to treat those affected. As of 5:55 p.m. local time, the region has experienced 127 aftershocks, the strongest measuring 5.9 magnitude. Interior Minister Ali Yerlikaya confirmed response teams remain on alert as evaluations continue across the impacted areas. The Foreign Ministry said on Wednesday no Malaysians have been reported to be affected by the 6.2 magnitude earthquake that struck Istanbul, Turkey. In a statement, the ministry, widely known as Wisma Putra, said it is closely monitoring the situation following the tremor, which occurred at 12:49 p.m. local time in the Sea of Marmara, off the coast of Istanbul's Silivri district. The ministry, through the Consulate General of Malaysia in Istanbul, is maintaining close communication with Malaysians in the affected area and remains in contact with local authorities for the latest updates. Wisma Putra advised Malaysians in Turkey to remain vigilant, follow the guidance of local authorities, and take all necessary safety precautions. The statement added Wisma Putra will continue to monitor the situation and provide updates as necessary. A powerful 6.2 magnitude earthquake struck Turkey on Wednesday, with the epicenter located in Istanbul's Silivri district. A second tremor, measuring 4.9 magnitude, was recorded at 1:02 p.m. local time, with its epicenter off the coast of Büyükçekmece in the Sea of Marmara. And also tens of thousands of mourners paid last respects to Pope Francis at St. Peter's Basilica on Wednesday on the first of 3 days of lying in state for the head of the world's Catholics. Pilgrims and tourists queued for hours to file past the open coffin of the Argentine pontiff who died on Monday, aged 88. Almost 9 hours after the doors of the Basilica opened to the public, more than 19,400 people had paid their respects, the Vatican said. Dressed in his papal vestments, a red chasuble, white mitre and black shoes, and with a rosary laced between his fingers, the Pope's body has been laid out in a red-lined wooden coffin. For 3 days, it will rest on a low bier before the altar of the Confession underneath the Basilica's soaring dome painted by Michelangelo. His funeral is on Saturday. Scores of world leaders and dignitaries will attend the funeral, including US President Donald Trump, Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky, Argentine President Javier Milei, and Spain's royal couple. The Interior Ministry said up to 170 foreign delegations are expected. India announced a raft of measures to downgrade its ties with Pakistan on Wednesday, a day after suspected militants killed 26 men at a tourist destination in Kashmir, in the worst attack on civilians in the country in nearly 2 decades. Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri told a media briefing that the cross-border linkages of the attack had been, quote, brought down at a special meeting of the Security Cabinet, after which it was decided to act against Pakistan.
Recognizing the seriousness of this terrorist attack, the CCS decided upon the following measures. 1. The Indus Waters Treaty of 1960 will be held in abeyance with immediate effect until Pakistan credibly and irrevocably abjures its support for cross-border terrorism. 2. The integrated checkpost Atari will be closed with immediate effect. Those who have crossed over with valid endorsements may return through that route before 1 May 2025. 3. Pakistani nationals will not be permitted to travel to India under the SARC visa exemption scheme visas. Any SVAS visas issued in the past to Pakistani nationals are deemed cancelled. Any Pakistani national currently in India under SVAS visa has 48 hours to leave India. 4. The Defence, Military, Naval and Air Advisors in the Pakistani High Commission in New Delhi are declared persona non grata. They have a week to leave India. India will be withdrawing its own Defence, Navy and Air Advisors from the Indian High Commission in Islamabad.
It was the worst attack on civilians in India since the 2008 Mumbai shootings and shattered the relative calm in Kashmir, where tourism has boomed as an anti-India insurgency has waned in recent years. Protesters have taken to the streets of the capital, New Delhi, and several other cities across India after an attack in India-controlled Kashmir on Tuesday, which killed at least 26 people, most of them tourists. Police called the incident a, quote, terror attack and blamed militants fighting against Indian rule. Demonstrators gathered in Pune, Amritsar and Chandigarh to burn Pakistani flags and chant, quote, down with Pakistan. Also on Wednesday, India closed its main border crossing with Pakistan, suspended a water-sharing treaty and downgraded diplomatic ties with its neighbour. Pakistan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said in a statement it denies any involvement in the attack and it only provides moral, political and diplomatic support to the insurgency there. Meanwhile, Kashmir Resistance, a previously unknown militant group, claimed responsibility for the attack on social media. The group said authorities had settled over 85,000 outsiders in the region and claimed that those targeted on Tuesday were not ordinary tourists, but were linked to and affiliated with Indian security agencies. The group's messages could not be independently verified. In other news, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas called on Hamas on Wednesday to lay down arms and hand the running of Gaza to his Palestinian Authority, PA, part of efforts to answer international doubts over the authority's role at a key moment for the region. Abbas was speaking at the Leadership Council where he is expected this week to name a successor amid pressure from Western and Arab powers concerned about the PA's ability to play a viable long-term role in peace efforts. While Abbas had previously called on Hamas to put its forces under the PA's control, he has not done so since the start of the war in Gaza.
على أساس وحدة القانون ووحدة المؤسسات ووحدة السلاح الشرعي ووحدة القرار السياسي، وما يعني بالضرورة وجوب أن تنهي حركة حماس سيطرتها على قطاع غزة، وأن تسلم القطاع بكل شؤونه، وأن تسلم الأسلحة كذلك إلى السلطة الوطنية الفلسطينية. فيش في دولة بتحترم حالها فيها سلاح. هاي لبنان قديش اشتغل حزب الله بالأخير؟ الآن كله شغل دولة، الدولة هي الموجود. فيش بلد بيسمح بقرارين سياديين وسلاحين وجيشين. هاي مش بلد هاي. وأن تسلم الأسلحة كذلك على السلطة الوطنية الفلسطينية وتتحول إلى حزب سياسي.
He added that the hostages detention provided Israel with a justification to continue its attacks on the region. Diplomatic efforts to craft a plan for Gaza's future have focused on pushing aside Hamas, but Israel also said it will not accept any role for the PA, which exercises limited autonomy in the West Bank. Hamas, which ousted the PA from Gaza during a brief civil war in 2007, has refused calls in recent months by Israel and the United States to lay down its arms. And yet to come, EU slaps Meta, Apple with nearly $800 million fines for Digital Markets Act breaching. Stay tuned. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has issued a warning that rising tariffs, economic slowdown and global uncertainty could push public debt levels far beyond current projections. In its latest fiscal monitor, the IMF says global public debt is set to rise by 2.8 percentage points this year, surpassing 95% of global GDP, and could near 100% by the end of the decade. Under a severely adverse scenario, debt could soar to 117% of global GDP by 2027, marking the highest level since World War II. The IMF links the risk to recent US tariff hikes and global countermeasures, which have targeted market volatility, weakened growth prospects, and strained already fragile public finances, especially with rising defense spending and higher borrowing costs. Emerging markets are particularly vulnerable, facing higher financing costs and commodity price swings tied to US financial conditions. The report warns that limited fiscal space could threaten essential investments and social spending. The IMF urges nations to tighten their fiscal policies and build resilience, calling for prudent reforms to restore confidence in an increasingly unpredictable world.
With a 0.4 percentage point down.
Big tech is in the hot seat in Europe. In a landmark move, the European Union has slapped major fines on US tech giants Apple and Meta, marking the first wave of enforcement under its new Digital Markets Act. Apple was fined a hefty €500 million, accused of stifling competition by preventing app developers from steering users toward cheaper options outside the App Store. Meta, meanwhile, was handed a €200 million penalty for forcing Instagram and Facebook users to either accept targeted ads or pay to opt out, a model the EU says violates user choice. Brussels says the crackdown is about levelling the digital playing field and giving consumers more power. The fines, delayed amid political tensions, are now seen as a clear signal that Europe is serious about reining in big tech. Both firms fired back, with Apple calling the move unfair and Meta accusing the EU of bias against American firms. The move is expected to intensify tensions between Silicon Valley and the EU as regulators grapple with how to manage the influence of the world's largest tech firms. The Asian Development Bank, ADB, committed $24.3 billion from its own resources last year, alongside $14.9 billion in co-financing with its partners. This is to address a range of complex development challenges in Asia and the Pacific. In a statement issued today, the bank explained that the amount encompassed loans, grants, equity investments, guarantees and technical assistance provided to both governments and the private sector. According to the ADB's annual report 2024, the bank built on the 1 million direct jobs it generated in 2024 by committing $4.8 billion through its private sector projects and programs, a 28.5% increase from 2023. ADB also highlighted that its collaborations with governments, financial institutions and investors have fostered enabling business environments, strengthened capital markets and boosted trade. ADB President Masato Kanda said the bank is financing more affordable and efficient energy and transport systems, supporting a vibrant private sector that creates better quality jobs, and strengthening basic services in education, health and social protection. Also reported a record $5 billion replenishment for the Asian Development Fund, ADB's largest source of grant financing for operations in its poorest and most vulnerable developing member countries. Oasis fans wishing to see the reunited British band live in concert have collectively lost more than £2 million from UK ticket scams, mostly on Facebook. According to Lloyd Banks, there are and have been at least 5,000 victims since tickets went on sale, with over £2 million lost to fraudsters, an average of £436 per person. The UK lender noted that scams often occur in two waves. The first, when tickets are released for sale, and again as the event date approaches. It added that more than 90% of reported cases start with fake adverts, posts or listings on Meta-owned platforms, with the vast majority on Facebook. The chaotic scramble for the prize tickets followed the announcement in August last year that brothers Noel and Liam Gallagher had ended their infamous 15-year feud and were reuniting for a worldwide tour. Oasis, whose hits include Wonderwall, Don't Look Back in Anger and Champagne Supernova, kicked off the reunion tour on 4th July in Cardiff. Other venues include Manchester, Buenos Aires, Chicago, London, Sydney, Tokyo and Toronto. United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has issued an urgent call for accelerated global climate action, warning the world has no time to lose. He stressed that no part of the world is being spared from the rising toll of climate disasters, deepening poverty, driving displacements, and stoking global instability. Speaking after a high-level climate meeting co-hosted with Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, Guterres rallied world leaders to step up with bold commitment ahead of the COP30 summit in Brazil later this year.
No group or government can stop the clean energy revolution. Science is on our side and economics have shifted. We don't have a moment to lose. No region is being spared from the ravages of accelerating climate catastrophes. And the crisis is deepening poverty, displacing communities, and fueling conflict and instability.
17 heads of state attended the meeting alongside key regional groups like the African Union, ASEAN, and the Alliance of Small Island States. Guterres described it as one of the most diverse climate-focused gatherings of leaders in recent times. A massive blaze destroyed hundreds of shanty homes in downtown Manila early morning on Wednesday, leaving hundreds of residents without homes. The fire started around 1:55 a.m. local time on Tuesday along a shanty community in Manila's port area and was put out 9 hours later. Fire Service Superintendent Bonifacio Cata said 100 fire trucks were deployed to extinguish the flames. Meanwhile, Manila Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office Director Arnold Angeles estimated at least 500 homes were affected out of 1,500 families, and it is possible the number may rise. The fire caused an estimated $177,000 in damages. There were no immediate reports of casualties. The cause of the fire was still under investigation. Manila's Tondo district is among the most densely populated urban areas of the world. The overcrowded squatter settlements are filled with hovels made of wood and corrugated metal, exacerbating fire risks. Arsenal held by Palace to edge Liverpool closer to the title. That's next and more in our sports segment. Arsenal kept Liverpool's Premier League title winning champagne on ice, but only just as they were held to a 2-2 draw at home against Crystal Palace on Wednesday. First-half goals by Jakub Kiwior and Leandro Trossard looked like being enough for a lackluster Arsenal against a lively Palace side, who equalised with an Eberechi Eze volley. However, there was a late twist as Palace substitute Jean-Philippe Mateta produced a superb chipped finish over Arsenal keeper David Raya in the 83rd minute. Second-place Arsenal are 12 points adrift of Liverpool, with only 4 matches left for the North Londoners. Arne Slot's team will seal the title if they avoid defeat against Tottenham at Anfield on Sunday. Their title hopes effectively over several weeks ago. Arsenal were already focused on winning the Champions League for the first time. But the sloppy display against Palace was hardly ideal preparation for the showdown with French champion PSG, who have eliminated Liverpool and Aston Villa en route to the last 4. Arda Güler's cultured first-half strike earned Real Madrid a nervy 1-0 win at Getafe on Wednesday that kept their La Liga title hopes alive and left them 4 points behind leaders Barcelona with 5 matches remaining. After Barca extended their lead with a 1-0 victory over Mallorca on Tuesday, Carlo Ancelotti's men secured 3 precious points thanks to Turkey's midfielders' fine 20th minute effort from the edge of the box.
Disgustado no, porque el objetivo era sumar 3 puntos y hemos sumado jugando una primera parte muy buena y una segunda parte más sufrida. Porque Getafe ha empujado más en la segunda parte. Hemos tenido más dificultad en el control del balón. Güler ha jugado como interior y lo ha hecho a su manera, muy bien, con calidad, con idea y con mucha tranquilidad.
Ancelotti decided to rest several key players ahead of Saturday's Copa del Rey final against rivals Barça, but Real still dominated proceedings. They failed to capitalize on numerous opportunities to extend their lead, however, which resulted in a tense finish to the encounter. The win moved them up to 72 points in second place, 9 ahead of third place Atletico Madrid, who have a game in hand and take on Rayo Vallecano on Thursday. Now, ahead of the friendly match against Manchester United at the Bukit Jalil National Stadium on 28 May, according to Football Association of Malaysia FAM, 2 national players, defender Dominic Tan and striker Sergio Aguero, were not granted release to join the ASEAN All-Stars squad. Its president, Dato' Muhammad Johari Muhammad Ayub, said both players are committed to the Harma Malaya squad, which will undergo central training starting 16 May in preparation for the 2027 Asian Cup qualifiers against Vietnam on 10 June.
AFL ada request untuk 3 daripada pemain negara yang sedia ada untuk bermain. Tapi oleh kerana dia terhad dengan masa tu, juga masa persiapan untuk kita menentang Vietnam. So 1 dapat lepas dan kedua tu tidak dapat lepas. Tapi apapun kita sudah mencadangkan lagi bagi nama yang lain supaya boleh dilepaskan. Tapi bertaraf nasional juga.
He said this when met at the Malaysian Football League MFL, FAM Amateur Football League AFL Raya Open House at Wisma FAM. Of the 3 national players called up to join the ASEAN All-Stars for the friendly match against English Premier League giants Manchester United, only Para FC goalkeeper Mohammad Haziq Nazli has been given the green light. Tickets for the ASEAN All-Stars friendly against the Red Devils to be played at the National Stadium in Bukit Jalil have been selling briskly, with 45,000 snapped up as of last Friday. The last time United played in Malaysia was during the 2009 pre-season tour, beating Malaysia 11 twice, 3-2 and 2-0 respectively on 18 and 20th July at the National Stadium. And in tennis, 3-time champion Petra Kvitova lost her WTA 1000 Madrid Open opener, while Switzerland's former world number 4 Belinda Bencic edged into the second round on Wednesday. Czech Kvitova, who returned from maternity leave in February, was 4-1 up in the first set against Katie Volinets before the American found a groove en route to a 6-4 6-love victory. In short, Kvitova is still searching her maiden match win this season after returning to competitive tennis. Bencic, meanwhile, took exactly an hour to down Turkish qualifier Zeynep Sonmez 6-love, 6-2. The 28-year-old from eastern Switzerland was impressive after her maternity break, during which she refrained from taking part in the Billie Jean King Cup with Switzerland. Bencic will face Denmark's Clara Tauson in WTA 23 in the second round. And that's it from us this afternoon. In our top stories, Singapore officially launched its general election campaign on Wednesday. Join us again this evening at 8:30 p.m. for more on TV1 and Solaran Berita RTM. Alternatively, you can stream us online on RTM Click's website and mobile application. Till then, I'm Brendan Leopold. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Salam Lisa Madani. Thank you for watching.